All right, so tonight's my last night at Gain, which is a tremendous learning opportunity. Highly recommended for any coach, any sport, any level. The speakers here are fantastic. I learned a ton from coaches like Jim Radcliffe, who's a strength coach at University of Oregon, and Bill Knowles, who works with the Philadelphia Union. A speed coach from Pennsylvania, Ken Clark. Randy Ballard, who works at the University of Illinois as a trainer, obviously Vern Gambetta, Mike Bond from US Ski and Snowboarding. I feel bad for forgetting some of the others, but names are escaping me, off the top of my head. But really just excellent speakers, and there's obviously a bias to what we tend to all believe. And so as I gave my presentation today on long-term athlete development, one of the things that I kept referring to talks that were given by Greg Thompson, actually, who's a PE coach in Michigan, and then also Bill Knowles. And, the big thing that kind of ran through all of the talks, whether we were ultimately talking about elite performance or, mine kind of referred more to youth performance, but it was the idea that we know there's a lack of physical activity, there's a lack of, standardized PE in schools. But as Bill Knowles termed it, who's going to take responsibility for that? So one of the things I often talk to basketball coaches, how can we, make up for this deficit? Or what are we doing to strengthen our athletes, prepare our athletes so they're better able to perform on a basketball court, and also at the same time, hopefully reduce injuries. And so, Bill Knowles talked about it again, who's taking responsibility for that. And I think it's, if you're coaching a team, and we know that there's these limitations, well, we can't just focus on basketball skills or basketball tactics. We have to attack, the movement first. As I've written in several articles, as I've taken from Rene Warmmahout from the Netherlands Football Federation, a mover to an athlete to a specialist. So we have to develop those movement capacities first, then we try to make them into an athlete. So once they have the basic movements, now we're trying to take those movements and apply more force or move at a faster rate of speed, jump higher, throw farther, whatever the case may be. And then ultimately, we're trying to develop skills on top of that. Too often, our youth basketball players are trying to develop their skills before they're athletes or movers, or to use Newell's model, we're trying to develop skill before we really have coordination and control. So, it was a common theme throughout the week, and it just kind of reinforced some of my ideas. And I really think, regardless of how much time you think you have, you can find 10 minutes at each practice. And if you can find 10 minutes to really work on movement skills at each and every practice, whether that's a dynamic warm-up or whether you create, leg circuit, or a medicine ball circuit, or just do some other form of training movement capacity or basic physical literacy, that 10 minutes over time has a cumulative effect and ultimately will make the players into better movers, better athletes, better specialists or better players, and reduce the injuries. But somebody has to take responsibility for that. We can't just continue to pass the buck down the line, and youth coaches hope that the high school coaches do it, and the high school coaches hope the college coaches do it, and the college coaches hope the pro coaches, and vice versa. Pro coaches expect the college coaches expect the high school expect the youth coaches, and nobody ever says, all right, I'm going to be the guy, and maybe up front it's going to cost me my first win of the season because I'm going to dedicate more time to really focusing on the long-term health, long-term skill development of my players, and I'm going to develop their movement capacity first. And so maybe that means that when I get to the first game of the season, because I'm a high school coach and I only have, say, 2 weeks of a preseason, maybe I don't have a zone offense yet because I've spent more time working on this movement capacity. So maybe I lose my first game, or I don't have press break or whatever. But in a long run, you're going to have a better athlete, and that better athlete is going to be able to develop better skills, and then ultimately you're going to have a better team and hopefully a healthier team, and the only way the best way to be successful as a team is to have your best players on the court. And so if your best player is injured, they can't get better and they can't help you win a game. So, the best form of performance enhancement for a team, is to reduce the injuries to your best players. So to me, the whole week was awesome. Again, it was an honor to speak in front of these coaches, not just the speakers, but also the other attendees who, are amazing coaches, strength coaches from the Philadelphia Eagles in the audience, and, various high schools and universities and professional teams, a former trauma surgeon from Germany, coaches from the AFL, rugby teams around the world, just amazing attendees. So, it was awesome to be able to present. But, I think the common thread through everybody, is we have to develop this, and we know that we have to develop these movement capacities, and we know that kids aren't. And so rather than kind of, sticking our head in the sands and just hoping something's going to change, as coaches, somebody needs to take the responsibility and say, I'm going to be the guy, I'm going to be the one to tackle this, and I'm going to be the one. I get a player as a freshman in high school who's 14 years old, and he has poor movement skills because he, is specialized at an early age, or he, didn't really play playground games or anything, pickup games, neighborhood games, climb trees, ride bikes, skateboard, things that we used to do, in my childhood. And I know this, so I'm going to start at a foundation level, and I'm really going to build his ability to run with good mechanics, jump, land, skip, hop, all these basic movement skills before I worry about, either adding load in a weight room or worry about their performance of skills on the court. And I think when we have more coaches that are making this concerted effort to really turn players first into movers, then athletes, then skills, we're going to see an improvement in their basketball competency as well.